Hey everybody, Rob from Karma Chameleon coming at you with another Ask Reddit video. What is the craziest encounter of rich kid syndrome that you have experienced? Let's jump right in. I lived with 5 guys and I was the only one whose parents weren't millionaires, not close at all. They never cleaned. About once a month I would deep clean the house, but 2 days later there was garbage and food on the floor. I found out they all told their parents the poor kid made all the messes when one of their moms came by to scream at me. A guy I met in my early 20s was the richest person I've ever known. His dad was CFO for a big bank, but died when my friend was 14. He grew up in a massive mansion, had his rent paid for in a luxury rental building, and had unlimited funds for drugs. Eventually, his mom forced him to go to rehab, which he did for a couple months. One day, while he was at rehab, my roommate got a call from him. He said he's outside and didn't know where else to go. He had been cut off from his money, knew that we had an extra room, and asked if he could stay with us while he learned basic life skills, getting a job, buying groceries, cleaning, budgeting, etc. We let him against our better judgment. About a month in, he had managed to stay sober, keep a job, and not be such a parasitic piece of crap. His mom thought he was doing better too, so she reconnected him to his money. His whole attitude and demeanor completely changed. All of a sudden, it's, I don't have to stay in this crappy apartment, like living like I'm poor. I don't even have to stop doing drugs. I've got my money back. He left right before rent was due and basically told us to screw ourselves. 2 months later, he had the exact same situation happen. His mom cut him off again, forced him to go to rehab. He left again and called us, but this time we figured he'd rather not live in our crappy apartment, living like he's poor. Not scathing like most of the ones in here, I grew up attending a private school in a developing country, so a lot of my classmates were in the 1% of the country. Whenever we'd be swimming in the school pool, one friend of ours in particular would always remark that swimming is more fun if the pool has a current or waves. To which I had no idea what he was talking about and generally thought he was just being imaginative. One day he invited me over to his house for swimming and he had a 50-foot indoor pool that generated a current and waves. He wasn't lying, they are a lot more fun. My college roommate's mom gave him flippin' $1,400 for the weekend just randomly. He blew through the whole thing by Saturday, asked his mom for more money, and was screaming at her because she promised $1,400 for the weekend, and he spent most of what she gave him on Friday, which isn't part of the weekend. Knew a trust fund girl whose dad gave her the money to start a company. She lost it when she went on vacation for 6 months and forgot she was supposed to pay her employees all the time. She assumed they would not get paid for 6 months and be there when she got back. I quizzed her on this for a few minutes, and it was clear she had no idea what a job was. Look up the Corona Del Mar high school cheating scandal. Happened at my school. Parents paid around $50,000 apiece to have a tutor bug the school computers and change students' grades. They all lawyered up big time when it came out, and all the kids got off free, and all made it into their top 3 schools. Edit, I would also like to add that this made the news, and all the parents whined that their children were innocent and just had a bad tutor. Had a girl I went to school with total 4 brand new cars, think Range Rover, Escalade, etc. I was also in a class with this girl when the teacher handed out papers that needed to be signed by a parent, and she signed it herself and tried to turn it in the same period as it was handed out and freaked out when the teacher wouldn't accept it. Kids who would talk crap and pick fights and then turn around and say, "If you touch me, my dad will sue," there are a lot more. Girl I went to high school with got a Mercedes for her 16th birthday. Bitched and moaned about the fact that she didn't get a Lexus because her name was Lexi and she thought it would be so cool for Lexi to drive a Lexus with a custom license plate saying Lexi. Her parents did cave and buy her a Lexus for her 17th birthday. My college roommate threw a massive tantrum, like on the floor screaming and crying because her parents got her a used big-ass truck for graduation. It was a 2013 truck with less than 10,000 miles that was fully upgraded, loaded with every possible add-on. We graduated in 2014, the car was maybe a year old, and she already had a 2009 Range Rover. This happened a couple weeks ago at the Infiniti dealership. I was in the waiting room with a very well-dressed lady for our loaner cars. She left the waiting room to look at her loaner and came back crying. She said she drives a fully loaded QX80 and they gave her a QX60 with nothing in it. I said sorry that happened and asked how long she was going to have the loaner for. She said a couple hours. I wanted to tell her to suck it up, but instead I sat there quiet, thinking how life must be easy for her to cry over a loaner car. A Saudi guy in the UK got in a crash with light damage to the side of a brand new Mercedes. He called for one of his assistants to come get him, even though the car was fully drivable. My friend rolled up on call with his tow truck and asked the guy where he wanted the Merc towed. The guy gave him the keys and said, "Keep it, I don't want it." Girl got a 2-year-old Range Rover for her 17th. Now 20, and still doesn't have her license. Sits unused in their 4-car garage. I used to have a friend who would constantly say, "I love when my dad gives me money," and "If I ask for a certain amount of money, my parents always give me $50 extra." This girl then bought an apartment, boasting about it on Facebook, and how proud she was of herself, how at 23, she was able to afford a home at such a young age all on her own. Still makes me want to faceplant into a pile of jagged rocks. A girl in my school was surprised by her parents in the school's parking lot with a new BMW. A freaking BMW. Everyone who is out is basically watching this go down, and she starts crying. At first, we are all thinking it's because she's so happy, but then she runs back into the school. Apparently, they were supposed to show up earlier, I'm assuming when there would be more students to witness the surprise. I felt bad for the dad, because he looked totally embarrassed and sad about it. You know, in his head he's like, I created this monster. Dad bought his college-age daughter a house in a very nice neighborhood so that she and her friends could live rent-free while they attended university. He remodeled the entire house. In all, he probably spent close to $2 million. 2 weeks after moving in, they left a candle burning while they went to the store to get snacks for a football game, came home, and the house was on fire. A month later, it was a good new home for them to move back in. My personal favorite was in college. Kid down the hall from me bought a brand new Fender Stratocaster and played with it for a day and got bored and sold it to me, case and all, for $20. I still have it and play it 15 years later. It's a great guitar. Not exactly rich kid syndrome, but there was this family that had 2 children who attended the elementary school that was connected to my middle school. Every day the 2 parents would leave the house and drive separately to pick up their 2 kids before returning home. I should mention at this point that they each drove a Lamborghini, one black and one orange, back to back in the pickup line to get their kids from elementary school. At first I thought they were just being showy, but then I realized that they were 2-seaters and this was really the only way to do it. I knew someone who goes out of the country just to have a haircut. Had a kid that lived across the hall from me my freshman year of college from Honduras. During one of the icebreakers after freshman move-in, he leaned to me to ask if I knew when the maids came to make his bed and clean. I guess his family was very well off in his home country, and the entire semester was an eye-opener for him in actually taking care of himself. There was this rich kid in our class who was literally disgusted by us buying used stuff, like computer parts, on eBay. Once during conversation I said I bought an eBay memory module for my PC, and said to me that I should have a little dignity, and if I buy used stuff, I should keep it to myself. I watched Rich Kids of Instagram on YouTube and am still recovering. Kids trying to straight up bribe bouncers and even police officers. This is less surprising when you realize they were international students from rich families where bribes are common or expected. Thankfully, they learned really quick to not do that. There's a lot of rich kids in my particular business program at university. I met this one girl a few months ago at a social. We were chatting a bit about our program, and she proudly told me about how she threatens to sue the school whenever things don't go her way. She also said something to the effect of, "They have to take the threat seriously because they know I actually have the means to follow through, haha." I had 2 friends in college who were from the UAE. They were brothers, and their parents were sending them to school in the US. They were actually pretty cool and down to earth, if not a good bit weird. They knew I didn't have a ton of money and couldn't afford to do the cool stuff they did, so they covered me all the time. Crazy stuff like renting a private plane to go to a concert, black cars with drivers, expensive dinners in expensive clubs. Girlfriend's family is wealthy, she's working her way to it, but she was waiting to get a chance for a promotion, and the words, "I can't believe anyone would make somebody work for almost a year to get a promotion," came out of her mouth, and I laughed. Girl at work told me she hated her dad. I asked why. She said he keeps asking for money since she used his credit card for a Euro trip and left him an 80 grand bill from last year. Ex-girlfriend's friend said to me, "Can you believe there are people who have never been on a private jet?" Yeah, I'm one of them. When I was in college, a friend that was heavy in the frat life told me about a freshman that got kicked out for having a servant flown to town to do the hazing chores he was supposed to do. I like to dream about what it would be like to have endless supplies of money, and then I roll over in my cardboard box and go back to sleep. This is Rob from Karma Chameleon saying thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, and share the video with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.